We're filthy traitors. You're on the Roosta Show.
Sun shining bright, honest light glows on this day, on this day. Happy go lucky, trees are green, all is clean at this perfect park, all is well, yeah. Thursday means loneliness to an empty man like him, sitting there on Sunday. See him sitting there with his cold dog stare on this day, on this day. See his desperation, look at his isolation, see his world of pain, driving him insane. Thursday means loneliness to an empty man like him. Thursday means loneliness to an empty.
You get amazed every time how good I am. Welcome to the Rooster Show. This is Brewster Jones, and I do appreciate you. You know what? Where are my glasses? Make me look sophisticated. So today we have Randy Rose from Man at the World, and from Rose, and from Randy Rose. So stoked to have him here. Hello and welcome.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Oh my Lord, it works. Yes, I've been having a smashing success lately.
Oh,
Like,
good. Awesome.
yeah, like 1 for 1 now. Just joking.
Doesn't get any better than that.
Yeah,
Oh, that's funny. How you doing,
that's
buddy?
awesome. Well, I'm awesome now. Welcome to Roost Show. Appreciate having you, Randy Rose. You've been in my bedroom for many years, and you never known it. Kind of
Did not know that.
weird way of looking at it, but yes, you have.
Oh,
I've
okay. Thank
been a fan since your very first Man at the World album, and had it on vinyl, played the
you.
tar out of it, and then I don't know, just Flowers in the Rain just hit it off. I loved
Yeah.
it how you guys took the first album to another level with the electric guitar and all that.
Yeah.
Made it more rock, like kind of. Then it turned into what I felt was almost like the Cult,
Absolutely.
type of
Yeah.
vibes. Yeah, I love them. I love Sonic Temple, one of the best albums ever.
Yeah,
For
absolutely.
rock and roll, like that type of stuff. So
Completely
it's
agree.
cool, man. You guys have really, even as your own career, with you have Rose, you have Randy Rose, and I don't know whatever else you have, and you'll inform me of that.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to hear your story. I want to know about you.
Sure.
Where'd you grow up? What was your first instrument? And
Okay,
what got
yeah.
you motivated to want to be a musician?
Well, I'll start with that last question because that is the core of where it started. My mom and dad. My dad was a drag racer, kind of a hot rod 50s guy, and had a muffler shop, and real cool kind of 50s guy, real sweet, real supportive, traditional, wonderful Christian parents.
Cool.
My mom and her sisters were traveling evangelists. So they used to like tour out of a little bus, a little 4-piece band. My mom would sing and play stand-up bass, and they would all sing 4-part harmony and, and minister and preach in different counties. I mean, all, through the 50s, probably even up to the, I don't know, maybe even up to the 60s. I don't know. They were doing it since they were little, 11, 10, 9, 8 years old. So that's
amazing.
My blood. Yeah, God kind of put the music in, in my generational blessings from early on, which is kind of neat. So that's where it started. But I grew up in Orange County, California, in Irvine,
Okay.
actually.
Okay. Okay. All right.
I
That's
was
awesome.
Yeah, I was born in Torrance, but grew up in one house. Did all the Mad at the World stuff in a recording studio that my dad built for me and Roger. It
Yeah.
was really, really cool. It built onto the house and soundproofed. It was a real small room. My oldest brother Ray is actually moving back to that original house this year, so it's kind of neat. It was keeping the house in the family still, so the studio still is intact.
Awesome.
The room is still intact, not the studio, but the room's still there. But yeah, so grew up there. And just I got turned on to the Christian music scene through Calvary Chapel, Costa Mesa. You probably know they did a concert outreach literally every Saturday.
Yeah.
So I saw punk bands like Association of the Cross, which is like when the first band I ever saw with a mohawk. It freaked me out. And I saw, of course, loved Undercover, Altar Boys,
Yep.
Lifesavers Underground. And the real early days when I was young, where I got saved, it was more like contemporary or kind of folk rock, Daryl Mansfield, Mustard Seed Faith,
Yeah.
Love Song, all the stuff like on that Jesus People movie or whatever, or the new movie that came out for Chuck Smith. So
Okay.
that I grew up and just fell in love with that music scene because like I was growing up with there's a 13-year difference between me and my older brothers. So I was like this little tiny baby. And I
Yeah.
grew up listening to these cute little like I think Grease, the soundtrack to Grease was my first album I ever had or something like that. Just a little innocent kid. But my
Huh.
brother, being a high school drummer and stuff, he was all wild. He had, forgive me, Roger, but yeah, he had like Black Sabbath and Kansas and all these, heavy bands that he was listening to. So I was kind of
Heck
exposed
yeah,
to
man.
pretty cool, gnarly stuff at an early age. So it was just always around me. And my brothers taught me how to play music. Roger taught me how to play drums. Drums was my very first instrument. I started playing when I was
Ah.
literally like 8 or 9 years old. And I started playing shows with a band, which was basically the early iteration of Mad at the World, but it's called like Saved and Eyewitness, two different bands. But I mean, Mike Pendleton, our original guitar player, me and Roger, and I was doing that when I was preteen, playing shows in LA, just a little, Christian outreaches and whatnot.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. That's awesome.
that's
That's
kind of
good,
that's
man.
the start. That's the start of where I got going.
You have ministry in your blood,
Yeah, I do. I do. It's
which
a
is a
big thing
good
to me.
thing. That's good. That's good.
Yeah. Well, I realized, there's no better vehicle than touching someone's heart. And to me, I was saved at just a real contemporary, normal Christian concert. I was a little kid, and when I felt the presence of God, he did an altar call. I mean, I grew up in a Christian family. I mean, an 8-year-old, 9-year-old, 10-year-old, they already think they're Christian. I mean, I
Yeah.
by default, I actually was. Obviously, I would have went to heaven, but I went up there and they prayed for me, and I just started bawling. I started falling apart. I had this
Yeah.
radical encounter with God, and I realized, oh my goodness, if music touched me like this, and they're using their talents and their gifts to be able to kind of reach people, and it doesn't matter if you're shy because you can hide behind a mic or drums, or whatever. So I
Yeah.
said, this is a vehicle. And then I saw bands like Undercover that play this real cool like God Rules song, and then he'd crack open the Bible and start ministering to people. And like all my friends got saved because I brought them to those concerts. So I realized that's what I want to do. I mean, that's what I want to do. So that's the core of kind of, who I am and what I'm really about.
Altar Boys was my first
Oh,
concert
really?
ever.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow. Where was it
Yeah.
at? What area? What
It was
area?
at a Calvary Chapel put it together, I think. But it was in Moreno Valley.
Marina Valley. Okay. Inland Empire. Yeah.
Yeah, it
Wow.
was
That
awesome.
is so neat.
So okay, now you have what sparked Man at the World? How did that come about?
Um, I think Mad at the World was,
We're gonna focus more on your projects, but
oh, no, no,
it's
no. I
kind
know
of
that
sets
that's
the
no,
tone
that's everything.
for
That's
Rose
yeah,
and Randy Rose
absolutely.
and
No, no. I mean,
because
Mad at the
you
World.
go
That
through some transitions. So
yeah. Oh,
we're gonna
big
talk
time.
about that.
Well,
Okay.
yeah. What it was, I think, is we grew up in you. I think you probably got it in the Inland Empire with K Rock, KROQ.
Oh, I
The
love
radio,
K Rock. The
yeah,
rock of the 80s and the
yeah,
90s
exactly, yeah,
with Jed the
exactly.
Fish and
Get the
Richard
fish out.
Blythe.
Yeah, it was amazing. And like, they broke a bunch of these really cool bands that were California. They broke Oingo Boingo. They brought the Smiths, which was
The
totally,
Cure.
the Cure, all these bands, to us normal people. They were going to high school or, middle school. So I mean, I got to hear this stuff and I realized there's not a lot of stuff in the Christian music scene that was really doing, like the Depeche Mode stuff. I mean, there was Steve Krumbacher, which is probably one of the first, after the
Yeah.
fire, was kind of doing something like that. But I mean, as far as like a real Pet Shop
Human
Boy,
Condition
yeah,
was a
exactly.
little
Yeah,
bit
absolutely.
like it,
Yeah.
and
Mhm.
Painted
Yeah.
Orange.
Yeah, they were doing it, but we really into that Britpop thing. I was thinking, man, well, these
Yeah.
lyrics were so gnarly. They were so dark. I mean, I love the music, but the message was so dark. I mean, the girls they were into were all just gothic and super depressed and borderline
Oh yeah.
suicidal. So it's like, man, we
Yeah.
gotta get into that scene because that's kind of needs a
Okay.
little bit of light. So it was like a strategic
Indeed.
way of getting into that. So I mean, that music just
Okay.
like blew away because it was so different. I mean, we had rock and metal and a lot of different music in our blood, obviously, because we're musically schizophrenic. You can kind of tell that, from Mad at the World to Rose. We've kind of
Yep.
been guilty of doing too much. But I mean, it's okay. It's inspiration, and they're kind of in seasons. But that music just
Okay.
changed. It just sounded so fresh and so new, and it was so easy to do with just me and my brother. Because he had a Commodore 64. We had all the samplers, the digital samplers for the drum machine sounds and all the analog
Yeah.
keyboard. So we're able to do it in that studio, and we didn't have to rely on a million band members coming over to practice. We could write through the night and record it just on the fly. So we made a demo,
That's sweet.
which literally is the first Mad at the World album. Nothing changed, and Roger was a mailman. He actually just retired like 2 weeks ago. My brother from Mad at the
Hey,
World.
congrats.
Yeah, I know.
Good
So
job,
yeah,
Roger.
he has a new life now. So I expect some big things from him now. But
Yeah.
he was Jimmy Kempner's mailman. I don't know if you heard that story, but
Yeah.
he's the owner of Frontline Records. A big guy in Maranatha
Okay.
Music,
Okay.
Calvary
Yeah.
Chapel.
I know Frontline. Yeah.
Yeah, that's where all these bands, that's where a lot of these bands were signed. Put it that way.
Of
That's where
course. Yeah. Definitely. Even Deliverance,
yeah,
and stuff
Deliverance,
in the
Crystal
early
Lewis,
days.
yeah, all of them. I
Crystal
mean,
Lewis. Oh, definitely.
Common Bond, Shout. I mean, all these crazy. It
I
was a
saw Crystal
really cool
Lewis
label.
like twice. Yeah, she
Oh
does a
yeah,
good show.
she was from Calvary Chapel, where in Riverside, right? Greg Laurie's church. That was her home
Yeah,
church.
Great Glory. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Mhm.
I remember those
So
days.
so that label, was huge, and Roger happened to be his mailman. So he just figured, well, I'll just drop it in the mailbox. I mean, that's probably not legal, but whatever. He's a mailman. No one has the right to put their hand in the mailbox more than a mailman. He dropped off the little cassette, and then he went and saw him the next day, and he said, "Yeah, I did get it. It was real interesting." So he brought it to Frontline, and we got a call like within a week, and they wanted to sign us. They said, "I've never heard anything like this. We want to
Yeah.
sign you." And we were about to move to the high desert because my dad had a property in the high desert where he wanted to retire. He had an airport, a house on an airport because he used to fly to Hawthorne. So he was kind of retiring and still wanted something to kind of retire, big land, blah blah blah. So we were about to move to the high desert, and we got that
Yeah.
call. So we stayed in Orange County to finish all the Mad at the World stuff and kind of lived all those years. Specifically, staying another 4 or 5 years in that area because that's where the scene was. So
I
we held off.
absolutely love that first album too, because it was like a mix of all these bands that I really love, like Tears for Fears mixes with Pet Shop Boys.
Absolutely.
It's just like and a little bit of New Order with
Oh yeah.
it's like all of it all together, and it's like all mushed into like one
It is. It's
beautiful
a fusion. Yeah.
your
Big
own sound.
potpourri.
No More
Yeah.
Innocence was just amazing. All of that. It was great album, great way to start it. And then
I
you
think so
turn
too.
off the Flowers in the Rain with like I said, with a little more upbeat, more almost death rockish
Yeah,
style,
we were starting to get into the band, the Mission UK. We were getting into that
Oh
band.
yeah. Oh,
We saw
yeah.
them play at
Love
the
them.
Coach House, and yeah, they're cool because I mean they were kind of a very melodic, softer Sisters of Mercy, but gothic rock. Still had some cool edge to them. So that
Yeah.
was cool, and really the big transition of Mad at the World was the simple fact that we played our first show New Year's Eve at Knott's Berry Farm. I mean, they still have that a show on YouTube,
Yeah.
and
I seen
it's
it. Yep.
yeah, I'm like Depeche Mode. So I had a little octapad trigger pad and two smokestacks where I had trigger backup vocals and just different techno sounds on it, and it was fun. It was really cool, and people loved it because it was so odd and different. But
Yeah.
realistically, we're playing to a lot of sequence tracks. So, it felt like wasn't a lot of energy, at least for
Yep.
us on stage. We felt kind of like, we're just kind of clicking my sticks and trying to get into,
That's funny.
we're not dancers, we love that music, but, we weren't showmen. So, I mean, it was kind of odd. So we figured, let's just go back to our other instruments and kind of do what the Cult is doing and doing, the
Yeah.
Cult the Cult Electric came out, and that was probably one of the most influential records
Ooh.
on. It changed my life, you know. So right in the middle of it, you're starting to get into the puppet strings where I'm starting to sing some stuff, and I'm kind of doing that little Ian Ashbury, Jim Morrison cult type vocal thing.
Yeah, 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 definitely.
But
Yeah,
that was determined because we
dancing,
really wanted to
more
play
dancing
live. You
style,
know,
I
we wanted to
thought.
play live and be behind real instruments. Oh yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah,
yeah,
that was
I'm
always there
definitely
because I mean,
influenced.
good.
No, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I mean, because I mean, the Danzig thing, which came just a little bit later, that was kind of a natural voice for me because basically, Jim Morrison and Ian Ashbury, pretty much,
Yeah.
Elvis create, Danzig. That's it. And I never even heard the Misfits. I mean, the very first thing I ever heard was, Mother. That was the very first thing I heard, and I was like, oh wow,
Oh,
that's the
really?
next level of the cult. Yeah, and that was the next thing that kind of got me into doing the first Rose album, the Sacrificium, which was basically a complete deface the music of Danzig one,
Exactly.
basically. But
Perfect album. Brilliant album. Love it.
thank you.
Yeah, that was the one of them that really got me going. When that you put that out, I was like, that's my boy right there. So I mean,
Well, I
I'm serious. I mean,
like
really, I was good
I,
job on it, man.
oh,
You
it
nailed
was
that
interesting.
album.
Thank you. I mean, well, it was very easy for me. The heavy music was really like my natural thing. I don't really like I can just
Yeah,
wake up and do that. That's my natural go-to. The riffs, the chord changes, the screaming vocals, the melodic weird Jim Morrison type melody stuff. I love the Doors. So I mean that's
yeah.
kind of deep in my, psyche as far as like the melodies and stuff. So that's easy for me. That's a natural place to go.
So then, why such a dramatic change to Masquerade?
Um, well, the Masquerade, I considered it to be a big transition because there was so much time that passed. I was just kind of looking at the dates of like I mean even like songs virtually abused. That's kind of what started it. That was
Yeah.
the first new Randy Rose Randy Rose ish thing, and that's my
Okay.
first Kickstarter thing, which was a really good success. I mean I didn't know people cared because, like I said, after doing all that music for so long, I was just happy being a father. Honestly, I was just raising my kids and
Ah, you're a
going to church and just
papas.
kind of didn't really. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Got three kids. My oldest is
Good job.
29, going to be 30. 25-year-old daughter and a 23-year-old son. My youngest is still with us, and he's a killer
Oh,
drummer. He's like me. He plays drums really good. All
congrats.
my
Yeah.
kids are talented. They should be doing music, but they're not. They're too busy working. But
Well, Roger does
um,
drums too, though. I know he did drums
yeah,
for
he
Rose, didn't he? And Randy Rose
Yeah,
side
he's done
projects.
some stuff. He has. He's done stuff. He's the one that taught me to play when I was real young. So he's done a lot of stuff, and even on the Mad at the World like encore stuff, where when we play a show, the second probably three-quarters of the show is all the stuff that I sung, like So Insane, Marshmallow Land, all the heavy
Yeah,
Rose stuff.
Marshmallow.
I mean,
Oh, I
not
love
Rose, but
Marshmallow
the
Man.
stuff where it was Mad at the World with me singing. He'd go back on drums, and I'd come up front. So that was kind of the birth of hey, I should get a band, too. That's kind of where
Yeah.
that came
Okay.
from. So
Yeah. So that's cool. You do that idea that I always thought would be great, be able to swap instruments with other bandmates. So you do actually
yeah,
do that then live.
yeah,
Yeah. Oh, that's cool. Okay. That
yeah,
would give
yeah.
that would make
That's
that would make a show really dang good. That I mean, having
yeah. I
Rose
mean,
and Man at the World stuff intertwining, like, oh, that'd
yeah,
be beautiful.
yeah, we pretty much could kind of switch. Matter of fact, I think the very first Randy Rose show, was at the Brin Center in UCI Irvine. I think there is some weird small video clips of that, but
Hmm.
um, Matt at the World played right before Rose, and I think my band just came up right over there. And Jason Martin, actually from Starflyer, he was our very
Yeah.
first live drummer. I don't know if you know him, but yeah,
Oh,
he was a
yeah.
buddy. I was friends
I
with him
don't
and
know,
Ronnie,
but I
and
do
we were
know
just
the music. Love the music. Love
the
Starflyer.
music. Yeah, yeah. So he was our
And
first live drummer, but then he started.
of course, Dance House Children, of course. Yeah, I was a big
Yeah,
fan of
Ronnie
Dance
Martin. Yep,
House and Joy Electric, and then all that good
all
stuff
that
too.
all
So
that stuff.
yes, I do know what you're talking about. I love the
Yeah,
guy.
they were people that I met through all the Mad at the World concerts. We used to put them on the guest list because they were so faithful at coming at the shows. Because I mean, I think they really got into Mad at the World because they were already doing techno stuff too. So
Yeah.
we're kind of like their pseudo temporary idols. So I befriended them, and they were like they're my age. So, we were just all into the same stuff. So I palled around with them all through the making of the early Rose stuff and, the very last of the
Wow,
Mad World stuff too.
that's awesome.
It was a
So
real
you
neat community.
That's cool, man. So you have a new Man at the World coming out, and we'll be expecting that sometime soon, huh?
Yeah, we just got the Kickstarter supporters their private secret download. They got the record, at least 2 weeks digitally before anybody else did. And so that's kind of
Ah,
something that I started doing with the very first Rose record. I thought this is cool because let's treat the fans and the
yeah,
people that actually put the money in this record like the record label, like their executives. Like, hey,
yeah,
here's the record before anybody else, in the public gets to hear it, and that's your special thing for sticking with us and making this happen. Because I mean, without the
that's very
fans
cool.
doing that, there's not a lot of record labels. I mean, unless you're a pop artist, it's all indie. I mean, Hindenburg Records, the stuff that I've done with Matt at the World and Rose, that's all indie. I work for Behold Records. I'm an artist now for Josh Spencer's label, who owns the last bookstore in LA, that world's coolest old vintage bookstore. I don't know if you're familiar with that place, but he's
No,
he's just he's going to be a record mogul, and he's his own label, and I'm his first featured artist. So I work full time for him. I've
it's
already
awesome.
built a couple records, which I'll talk about shortly. But yeah, so it's an interesting little culmination of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, well, you're keeping yourself busy. I mean, it's just like a full-time job. You have to have another job to provide for this, or is this a full-time thing for
Well,
you?
I,
If you
I
don't
I'm
mind me
I'm straight.
asking.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and that's actually a good thing to ask. Right now it is a full time thing. My father passed a couple years ago, and we were going to go to California and live with him and try to help him recover, and he never recovered. It was one of those things where he broke his hip in
Damn,
two different ways. It was just a real hard thing.
so
So I ended up,
sorry.
spending the last. Yeah, it was hard. It was very hard because we lived in Texas. We were 2,000 miles away, and we worked. We were preschool teachers. Me and my wife. We did it. We did it together. I was her assistant. We did that for years. And I did music on the side. I
Yeah.
wrote the Masquerade while still doing a full time job. But when that happened, I realized, man, life is so unbelievably short. And I lived in California for a year. Went back, after being in Texas for 20 years, and it didn't feel like the same place I grew up in, and my other two kids were still in Texas. So I felt like, I still needed to, get back to my area where my, Roger's still out here in Texas. My oldest brother's still out here. So I came back to Texas. I'm just about, 8 months into Texas again. So this last Mad at the World album, I've done it, three different studios: Roger's studio, my studio in the high desert, California, and Rose Studios here in Burleson, Texas. So
Wow.
it's been a crazy year and a half. It's been wild. Yeah. But I realized I want to do this, full time. I just want to have the faith. I mean, people have YouTube channels and live off that. People are mixing records, they live off
Yeah.
that. I'm a Christian recording artist. I can kind of basically make it on just writing music and supplying it to the record label that I do. I can kind of do that. But there's definitely different avenues that I want to do. I'm going to start getting back into. I'm actually doing it right now. I'm not allowed to say who I'm working with because I signed a little disclosure. But I'm
Yep.
actually going to start, mixing other people's records again too. So
Awesome.
anybody out there that wants, their stuff remixed, done the way that our stuff sounds, a very aggressive sound, I'm doing that because I really want to do this forever. I mean, that's kind of
Mhm.
it's my easy go-to of something that I have a big passion for. And like, if you love something, it's not like you're laboring. It's not like a nightmare to do it,
Exactly.
And that's what music, that's what ministry, and that's what production has been to me.
That's awesome. That's so great, man. So actually happy for you that you're doing something you love. And obviously it's given in the family, it's in the genes, man, to love the Lord, but to do it through the music ministry, and honestly, Man at the World has been a major impact for a lot of people, and I'm proud of you for that. Good job for that legacy. It is a
Thank you.
legacy, man. I know it's been a lot of work too, man.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys went through a lot of changes, even with that side. You always get to tell you can always very experimental people you are when it comes to music, which is
Yeah.
very cool.
We have some
And you make it
we have some
sound fine just the
understandings.
way when every time you guys come by with a new idea, it's like fresh, but you can tell it's you,
Oh, thank you.
which is really good. I mean, Through the Forest, I love that one. I love Seasons of Love was actually the one that really got me going. Oh,
Yeah, that's
that
a
one,
great.
that was yeah,
That's
that
re-
was awesome. Anyway, so are you more like an artist that likes to record more so than do live shows?
well, that is my first passion. I'm a recording engineer, production fanatic. I mean, that's like if I wasn't doing my Rose stuff, I would be getting drum sounds in my studio or doing something with someone else. That really is like my deepest passion. My cousin Danny Rose, taught me a lot about recording. So did my brother Roger when he first started. We were working on little 4-track analogs, and then we went to 8-track and then 16-track, and then started going now where everything's pretty much on computer. But yeah, that's my big thing. I definitely have been so far more of a recording artist than anything. But with the cool festivals like the Audio Feed and all this different stuff, they would probably love to see Rose at least. I don't know if Matt at the World's going to play again. Roger is like the most gifted guy in the world, but he's like super shy when it comes to shows and playing and talking in front of people. Like I know you would probably like to talk to both of us, but
Yeah,
I'm the communicator between all the bands. It seems like because he's just shy. He just doesn't like being videotaped. Doesn't like talking. It was like hard to
um,
even get those Kickstarter updates out of him. I had to like do most of them myself, as you probably saw.
well, Roger,
But
you are loved, man. I love you,
oh, he's
brother.
very loved. Yeah.
You've been in my family a long time, and I love you, buddy. Anyway,
Oh yeah.
so
Absolutely. Absolutely.
um, how
I want to
does
start touring
one
though.
get?
If you have a
Yes,
question.
that'd be awesome. How does one become a Kickstarter?
Well, I mean, I like most things just jumped into it like crazy. I just started seeing, these different bands. I don't even remember the very first Christian record that I saw, like an older artist, like, hey, I haven't seen these guys and they haven't done a studio release in 10, 15, even 20 years. And they were doing it. And I was like, wow, this is so cool. And oh my goodness, people are actually supporting it. I was just shocked. I
Hmm.
mean, like Facebook is kind of where I came back because like I didn't even realize that people even cared, about Matt at the World and Rose and me
Yeah,
anymore. I mean, I knew
yeah,
they care. I mean, I know we were significant, for a time, but I mean, I didn't know that they were still active fans that still wanted to, hear this stuff and wanted to hear, the next transition of it,
there,
and they
baby.
did. Yeah.
I'll
So
never
Kickstarter
let
is.
you die. I'll never let
Thank
you
you.
die.
I appreciate that. I mean, yeah, I mean, honestly, yeah. I mean, you guys keep it alive. You keep it alive.
That's
That's
right.
we couldn't do it any other way. And that was just it. I mean, it was literally an experiment because it was almost scary because you start working on writing music. I knew like I had every song for Songs for the Ritually Abused. I already had the music. I knew exactly what I was going to do. I was waiting to record it because there was some equipment that I wanted to do to use some of the money to pay for it to kind of upgrade it and take it to the next level. And that's a whole different story. We'll talk about that some other time. That was a nightmare.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
anyway, it's scary because you put yourself out there and it's like, this is either going to be something really cool and people are going to believe in you, or you're going to realize, oh, I need to go back to teaching, or whatever, which is
Yeah.
fine. But people spoke. It funded, within a month, and people were awesome about it, and they seemed to really like it, because I think it was a. Once again, it was I didn't even get to talk about the transition of Masquerade. We were kind of getting on that a little bit because I
Okay.
accidentally went back to Songs for Ritually Abused. But yeah, I was trying to do something a little more like what's the next level? What's the next level of rock? And I was thinking, well, like Queen, harmonies. How can you be
Yeah, I get
weird?
you.
How can you be more alternative without just being harder? Because I mean, I kind of do like that stoner rock thing, like Sabbath and Queens of
Oh
the
yeah.
Stone Age. That kind of that's very natural for me. But what's the way to be crazier? What's more stupid, if you will? Backup vocals. I mean, doing
Yeah,
something like the
exactly.
band The Sweet, something like the '70s did, and that's what we did a lot on Love and Despair, the new Mad at the World Kickstarter. That's basically
Okay.
going to be released really soon, probably digitally in the next couple of weeks. But that's a very '70s thing. So I mean, I think the Masquerade was a transition from alternative stoner rock into acid, slushy, almost borderline some weird progressive guitar lines, but real just melodic stuff though. It's a weird. It's a, like a, it, if you heard it, it's a potpourri of kind of a lot of weird stuff. There's the Doors in there. There's Sabbath.
Yeah.
There's some dance in there, but there's with
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
the backup vocal. There's some of that '70s stuff that I grew up on. Kansas, the
Yeah.
Sweet, all that stuff. And I
Okay.
just figured, are these fans, were they listening to the same music, that I was, or are they, real prejudiced against backup vocals or 70s stuff? And, most people like it. So, I mean, I just figured, believe
I
in the
love the
artist.
Mamas and Papas, man. I love them.
Yeah.
I love all that
Oh,
kind of
yeah.
stuff back
Yeah.
then.
Me too.
It's just the
I do too.
animals,
I
man,
love
and
everything.
the
Yeah.
birds. Good
Oh,
stuff.
man. Absolutely.
Timeless.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Timeless.
Yeah. That was it. So, I mean, it was a culmination of everything I grew up with,
Got it.
mashed into one big mess, basically.
That's awesome. That's that's very cool. So, so you guys are you still having much of a success with Man at the World? You feel you having
Yeah.
much of an
Yeah.
impact?
We have a real good impact, just like the new Rose stuff does. I mean, because a lot of those same people just jumped right on board when it was time for Mad at the World, and
Exactly.
as you remember, when the very first Mad at the World Kickstarter was Hope, which was going to be kind of relating to our
Okay.
first album.
Yeah.
Techno, pep shop boys, digital keyboard stuff, all drum machines. There was some live guitar in there, just like the first Mad at the World, but it was primarily a keyboard related album. So that was a safe experiment, to try Mad at the World again, because like wouldn't take too much effort to be able to do it because we're doing it at home on our computers, sending
Yeah.
it to each other's house, and finishing, that type of thing. So it was a low key experiment to see if people wanted us, and they did. So we agreed to do a trilogy, and that's Love and Despair, the new one that's coming out. That's the second. So that's kind of the rock album. And I don't even know what the third thing's going to be. There was talk originally of it being something just crazy harder, but I'm afraid Roger thinks that'll just basically be Rose number 8. Because I mean, any harder, it's going to just sound like Rose. I mean, honestly, because
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
I just
But
start
why not go
infusing.
back to that? Why not go back to an album like that? That's
Yeah,
that's what
I
a lot
mean,
of people love.
yeah,
I mean,
I
not saying don't try new things out. I'm not,
yeah,
but
no, I
it
mean,
would be
yeah,
nice
it's possible. I
to
think
hear you
honestly,
scream again.
yeah, no, I think that most people honestly would prefer that. I think that's where they feel like the next progression of Mad at the World, on this trilogy should be is something that's, the heaviest thing, and we really
Healing was
haven't done
such
a
a
whole
great
album.
album. Healing
Oh
was
yeah,
another immaculate album.
yeah,
Perfect.
Healing was a very cool album. It had a lot of great influence, and that was the first time I recorded, with a band that wasn't just me and my brother or me and a couple of buddies. It was
Ooh.
Rose. Yeah, so it was a different. We used two different drummers on it, Don Richard and Stan Lessering, and Mike Link, who's been is a cousin of mine. He was our bass player. Steve Kumata and Ben Jacobs and me on vocals. And unfortunately, we lost both of the Rose guitar players. They both passed away, which is just crazy. Uh, and those guys were also in Mad at the World too. The later iteration of Mad at the World was Rose. It was our
Oh,
band with Roger on it. When we started doing our last few shows.
is that the guy that was on the Boomerang cover when you guys were on the
Um,
pipes?
no, 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 that's Mike Pendleton. He's one of our original. He actually played lead guitar in the new album, but he's from our old days.
Okay. Okay.
He's out of state and he wasn't close.
Yeah,
No, this
curly
this is
hair,
from like
didn't he? If
yeah,
I remember.
Mike. Yeah, yes, he did. Yeah, yeah. Mike
Okay.
Pendleton did. Mike Link was my cousin, and he came in on the very first on I think Healing on out is when he started playing with me. But he joined Mad at the World like on the oh man, when we're starting to do our jellyfish, our '60s stuff, that Dreamland Cafe and all that stuff. So
Yeah,
that's when
yeah.
that's when my band became, Rose became the new Mad at the World, and we didn't do it too long. Like I said, we all got married, had kids, and we kind of just thought we were done after that. So that's why there's that break of, 15,
Oh, I
16,
get you.
17 years. Yeah.
Life interfered.
Yeah,
I see.
definitely. It
I
was a,
see
it was a
it.
welcome it was a welcome interference. I mean, it's better than anything else. I mean, honestly, I wish I could go and do it again, because you think you're doing it right, and then you realize, oh my goodness, my kids don't even want to see me. I must have done something wrong. I'm kidding, but you know what I'm saying.
I do.
I'd do it all over if I could.
What was one of the biggest lessons you've ever learned? Being a musician, what have you learned?
To strike when the iron's hot. We as artists, especially in the Christian music scene in Orange County, because that's kind of where it was at. I mean, that's where a lot of this stuff was happening. We all went to the same churches. We all went to
Honest
the same.
stuff, Social D, out
Absolutely.
there.
Oh yeah,
But
absolutely.
the Crucified weren't they from there too?
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah. I think
Oh
they're
yeah,
Oceanside or somewhere. Yeah. We were all, Southern California. I mean, not all, but I mean a
I
big
lived in
majority.
Oceanside.
Okay. My wife was from San Diego too, so that's funny. Yeah. From Santee. So yeah, I mean, so many bands were involved in playing at the youth groups and doing all that stuff. I mean, we're all
Yeah,
playing those Wednesday night concerts, the Saturday night concerts, and then all the Christian flyout dates like in Deep Ellum, Texas and stuff, the Door and all that stuff. So I mean, the biggest thing is I wish we all would have stayed in it a little bit longer while we still could have before the
yeah.
industry took, big dive. And it wasn't just the Christian music industry that suffered. The regular music industry after Napster and downloads that just killed all the recording studios. That's where everything changed because there was no you didn't have to tangibly own a vinyl. You didn't have to tangibly own a CD. You could literally
True.
just download something. And if you go to a pirate site like Napster, you get it for free. So why pay for it? So all these artists that used to have recording budgets were gone. It was just dead. I mean, literally half the studios in LA, they all closed. I mean, there's probably like 6 of them left out of, probably 50 of the most killer studios that, all these albums we love and grew up with, they're gone. I mean, I think there's a rebirth of it now. There's a revival of the idea of getting vinyl and CDs and records and just getting your hands on something. I think people are kind of
Yeah.
sick of just living only exclusively through streaming.
I'm a tape person. I like tape.
Oh, that's good.
Cassettes.
That's good. Yeah.
I like
that's
tapes.
awesome.
I love CD. I have a CD player in my car. It works brilliant. I love it.
Oh yeah. I had them. I had them forever till I couldn't play them anymore. I agree.
Yeah,
I like having
totally.
my hands on something. I like
Then you
seeing.
put the wax on it. Remember?
Yeah,
Or
exactly.
toothpaste or toothpaste.
Yeah,
You
exactly.
fill in the cracks.
Or bring them
Oh,
to
man.
bring them to a place, a game store that can polish them for you. Yeah, done that.
That's true. Those are the good old days, man.
But
So
stay with it. That's the thing. I wish we would have
That's
stayed
the
with
whole
it before the
thing.
industry dropped the bottom fell out. We all could have stayed with it another probably 10 years and we would have been in a little better place right now. That's all.
Yeah,
That's my
definitely.
regrets.
Yeah, you heard it, folks. You heard it. Okay, so what would you like to say to your fans?
Well, I wanted to say, thank you, guys, for even showing up. We're doing this again. I'm doing this again because became you befriended me on Facebook, and I mean, and by the way, my account got hacked, so find me again. I lost everybody this October, so I'm rebuilding all my friends. I had 5,000 people. It took me years of people to know, all gone.
It takes a
It
long time, huh?
took a long time. It was horrible. And and half the people that I had friends with, they're full and don't realize that my account's dead, so it's horrible. So find me and re-add me. But I mean, honestly, just thank you guys. Honestly, the big thing is just thank you for even wanting to support, this music ministry, this idea that life is still not over. That we still should use our gifts to, for God and for each other. And if we ever dream of our kids' to ever want to see Christian concerts in the youth groups again or Christian concert clubs, stuff like that, we got to keep doing what we're doing. We're the last of the remnant that's even doing it. There's not a lot of Christian labels that are even doing punk rock, alternative, anything like that anymore. It's very, very small.
Dang. That's really sad.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a good upbringing in like the 90s, early 90s and all that. Like Flock 14 and all that, Oh man, no one talks about them anymore.
Yeah.
No one does. You know that. You
Yeah.
barely even find a freaking, I can find them on YouTube. And I found them on iTunes.
Oh man.
I got lucky because I used to have that CD, man. And anyways, so I mean, it's just I'm doing the best I can, I know, to keep some of this alive. And so it's very much an honor to have you here for that reason, because you're a very big part of it, big part of my upbringing, and you didn't even have an idea.
Yeah,
I was a twinkle in your eye.
Oh, that's cool. I appreciate that. I mean, honestly, I'm a being an artist
as an early Christian, but yeah.
Thank you. That touches me because artists, I may seem like some hardcore crazy stuff. You hear my lyrics, you think like, what on earth has this guy gone through?
I'm nuts.
I'm a sensitive guy. That's really it. I mean, if someone aches, if someone's hurting in the room, my heart just breaks for them. And I think that's a a good representation of how Jesus feels about us. So that's always been my thing. Pay attention to who's suffering and try to reach out to them before it's too late. Because I mean, I've lost people and cousins and uncles with suicide. I mean, just horrible things. People you would never think would do certain things, and they go, they just go off because they've had no one to talk to on those last
Horrible.
hours. It is
Yeah.
horrible. Life is a gift from God. It's not a joke. It's a very serious deal.
To let you know, my whole page, Facebook page, is pretty much devoted to that. I've been befriending band members and
Oh wow.
all that stuff. It's 90% band people.
Oh
I
wow. That's
mean,
awesome. That's
it's
great.
just I've been weeding out the bad people, and the ones that
Oh.
are not part of really, I'm trying to make a support thing for when we need each other. We need each other. We
Yeah,
can
that's
easily
great.
find each other. We're at one place. That's why I do the Rooster Show Friends and Family thing, as well as a private group. Sometimes we just need each other, and
You
or
need
to experiment by, hey, listen to this guy's in. I need feedback.
Yeah, I
We
mean,
can help each other out.
I agree. I mean, I honestly think, I mean, I know we got a mixed group here of people that know God, they're listening, people that have never
Yeah.
met God. And ultimately,
Oh,
wouldn't
yeah.
it be nice if people are just finally jealous of something that we have in our heart, not because we're bragging, not because we're arrogant, but because we have something that just seems true and remains and stays the same. That's
Yeah.
how we bring people to God anyways. I mean, literally just like, what is it while you're not falling apart? Or when you fall apart, why do you fall apart and land at the same place? That's all it is. I fall apart all the time. I live my life completely in pieces. But the whole point is I have a place to land and I know that I'm loved by God and forgiven. So I mean that's just what we all need. I mean, this world is so unbelievably divided. I wish we could just, be a shining light again. I want to
Yeah,
be.
it
I'm,
would
I'm
be nice.
trying to be.
Trying, definitely. That's all we could do.
That's
Well,
all we
much
can do.
love to you, brother. Our
Thank you,
time
buddy.
has
Thank you
ended.
for having me.
And,
Thank you so much.
and I'm always here. If you guys want to do a promo on your new album, let me know.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Okay, and we'll get together and do that. Much love
I
to you. God
love
bless
you, buddy.
you, and I
God bless you,
appreciate
man.
you. Appreciate you, Roger, as well. I know you're here, right there, man. Okay,
He's
much
in our
love to you
heart.
both.
God bless you, buddy.
Bye-bye, man. Peace.
Bye bye.
The lust of the flesh, the pride of this life. I burn it out like an angry flaming sun. from the lights of